What's going on, Renaissance Lifers? Welcome to Renaissance Life TV, where we take life to a whole new level. I'm your host Lee, and today I'm going to share how to start a vegetable garden the easy way. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Renaissance Life TV is a channel geared towards men who want to take their lives to the next level. Please subscribe for weekly videos on how-to, personal growth and success, entrepreneurship, and a different perspective on navigating life and relationships. Before I go any further, please do me a favor and answer one of two questions in the comments below. The first question is, if you had to choose just one vegetable to grow in your garden or container, what would that vegetable be? The second question is, do you know any gardening tips that you want to share? Please do so in the comments section below. I want to hear from you. Now today, I'm going to share the method that I use to set up my garden. I'm also going to share how I keep weeds under control, how I keep pests at bay. Along the way, I'll also be sharing specific items that I use that help me out in my garden. And at the very end, I'm going to share some foods that you can plant right out of your fridge or cupboard without having to buy any seeds at all. Okay, let's get into it. I've used several methods for gardening along the years, but this is by far the easiest way I've found to do it, and that's the no-dig. But before that, I'll take you through some of the other things that I've used to see if any of them might work for you. At the very beginning, I used containers. Containers are a great way to get started gardening. They're portable, they're small. If it gets really cold outside to temperatures that will threaten your vegetables, you can actually just pull your containers inside. That's an advantage over sowing seeds directly into the ground because you can't take those plants inside when it gets too cold outside. I've also planted in raised garden beds. This is a great option of having deeper soil and having a specific type of soil that you want to garden in. This is especially helpful if you don't have great soil in your yard or wherever you would plant your garden. Now, of course, in order to plant in raised garden beds, you've got to build raised garden beds, which can be a slight task, but the results can be very positive. The last method that I've used previously is sowing directly into the ground and working the soil, actually digging into the dirt. As you might imagine, this is back-breaking work. When I planted directly into the ground, I had to use an old-fashioned hoe and actually break up the soil and create workable earth in order to plant my seeds and for the vegetables to grow in. Of course, when you get your vegetables at the end, it's all worth it. But there's an easier way. The no-dig method is really phenomenal. All I had to do was grab some soil. I chose to use compost because it's rich in nutrients and can really help the plants grow. I've used it before when I planted raised garden beds and the vegetables grew like they were on steroids. The key to the no-dig method is having enough soil to lay on top of the existing ground that you have. It's okay if there's grass already in that area, because once you cover up the grass with enough soil, 3 to 4 inches at least, that will snuff out any grass or organic matter that is on the ground, because without the sun, the grass won't keep growing. And you can plant directly into the soil without having to dig up anything. Now, the garden that you see in this video is about 36 feet by 24 feet in one section, and then there's a separate section of about 16 feet by 12 feet. If I actually had to plow this area by hand, it would take forever. All I did was get enough soil to cover the area that I wanted to actually plant in, at least 3 to 4 inches deep. Now, soil can be very expensive, so here's a really good tip. In many counties, you can get compost for free from your county or from the waste processing facilities. Or if you contact a local farm, either through Craigslist or directly, they often will have compost that they will give for free or at a very minimal cost. So I paid about $50 for about a dump trailer full of compost that I could plant in. Of course, if you have a small area that you're going to plant into, you can just get a couple bags of compost and plant directly into the soil on the ground. Now, where do I get my seeds? I get my seeds from your regular home improvement stores like Home Depot, or I get them at Walmart. You'd be surprised that you can even find organic seeds at any of those places. You can also buy seeds online. One of the things that you want to think about when you're gardening is weeds. How are you going to keep weeds at bay? One of the mistakes that I made in the past was spent a ton of time preparing a garden and the soil, planting seeds, watering them, watching them grow, only to have weeds threaten to overtake my entire crop. The reason why you don't want weeds is weeds are plants, so they take up energy and nutrients from the soil. They use sunlight and oxygen just like the plants and vegetables that you want to actually grow to eat. So if your weeds are growing close to your vegetables, they're competing for the same sunlight, the same water, and the same nutrients from your soil. And that will cause your vegetables to either not grow very well or be stifled by the weeds. So how do you keep weeds at bay? The best way to keep weeds at bay is to mulch. If you haven't heard of mulching before, mulching is using some sort of material over the ground to block sunlight from coming in. And what that does, that stops the growth, or at least dramatically minimizes the growth of any weeds or grass or any other type of thing that would have been growing on the ground otherwise. Most of you are probably familiar with your most typical wood mulch that you see at your home improvement stores for use in landscape decoration. Now, you can use this to mulch with, but I would recommend against using those type of mulches in your vegetable garden because those types of mulches are actually dyed. So commercial companies use dyes on the wood chips in order to make them more aesthetic. The problem with using dyed wood chips in your vegetable garden is that that dye may potentially leach into your soil and into your vegetables, the vegetables that you plan to eat. So you probably don't want to use that type of mulch directly in your garden. Now, there are many other type of mulches that you can use. So some other really good options for mulching is cardboard, if you can get your hands on enough of it. You can also use newspaper. Newspapers nowadays are made with soy-based ink, which wouldn't be harmful to your vegetables. A really cheap and easy and effective way to mulch is by using leaves or grass clippings. If you cut your grass and have a lot of grass clippings, you can gather up all the grass clippings and use that to mulch around your vegetables or around your garden. You can also gather up leaves if it's fall, or if you just have a lot of leaves in general, and use the leaves for mulch. The other great benefit for mulch, besides keeping weeds at bay, is that mulch decomposes slowly over time, and that releases organic matter into the soil, which helps to build more nutrients into the soil and feed your plants, feed the soil, and also improve the quality of the soil over time. One other benefit of mulching is that it helps to protect your soil from extreme temperature changes. If it gets really hot during the summer, a good layer of mulch will protect the soil and the roots from being fried. If it gets really cold, then the mulch will help to trap heat in the ground and keep the roots of your plants warm. The last benefit of mulch is that mulch helps the soil to retain water. So that means that you have to water your garden less, and you can actually save on water. Okay, let's talk about how I keep pests at bay. Now, pests are a natural occurrence in any garden, or if you're just outdoors. Even if you have containers, you may have to deal with some amount of pests. With containers, it may be convenient that you can move your container to a different location that's less susceptible to pest infestation, or move it inside. Of course, there are many commercial chemicals and pesticides that you can use on your plants to keep pests at bay, but I wouldn't recommend them. What I use is something organic, especially because I plan to eat my vegetables, so I don't want chemicals in the food that I eat. A great alternative to pesticides is neem oil. If you haven't heard of neem oil comes from the neem plant, and it's an organic extract that repels pests. So I buy a bottle of neem oil. I'll post a link down in the description to the neem oil that I buy and that I use on my garden. I get it on Amazon. I mix a bit of it with water and I spray it over my vegetables just as if I was watering my garden normally. That helps to keep the pests at bay. Now, neem oil does have a smell to it that you may or may not like, but I find that it's really not that bad when sprayed in the garden. By the next day or a couple hours later, you won't even smell it. The other product that I use to keep pests at bay is a product that I just started using a few weeks ago. It uses only organic materials to repel pests. It comes in a bottle, it's really convenient. You just attach your hose to it and you can spray it in your yard to get rid of mosquitoes, ticks, fleas, and other pests. On its label, it says that it's safe to use even in your garden, and it's safe for you to be in the areas that you applied it to right away for your pets and for humans. I'll also post a link to that product down in the description so that way you can check it out for yourself, read the reviews, and if you like it, go ahead and pick it up. It can also be something that you can use even if you don't plan on starting a garden, just to keep pests away from your home. The last way that I keep pests at bay in my garden is that I water my garden in the morning. The important thing about watering your garden in the morning is that it gives the water time to dry over the course of the day using the help of the sun. If you water your garden in the evening, that water is likely to sit on your plants for an extended period of time. And when water sits on the leaves of plants and vegetables, for instance tomatoes, that actually leads to fungus and other conditions that make it more likely for pests to take residence in your garden. So water in the morning. Maybe you heard me say that I water my garden in the morning and you thought to yourself, I'm not getting up early in the morning to water my garden. Well, I've got a tip for you. I just picked this up the other day and it works wonders. It's the Orbit garden timer that I use to water my garden. You just attach it to your spigot outside of your home and attach your hose to the timer, and it will automatically trigger your hose to start watering your garden at the time that you set it for. So I have my Orbit set to water the garden at 7 a.m. every few days for 30 minutes. And it goes on automatically. It works like a charm, whether I'm at home, whether I'm away for vacation, whether I remember or forget, my plants will be watered. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about a few helpful items that I use in my garden every year. I've already talked about the automatic waterer or the Orbit, and I posted the link to that down in the description. This has dramatically changed my need to water the garden, ensuring that my plants have water whenever they need it. When used in conjunction with either a sprinkler or with a drip irrigation system, you can get water directly to the plants where it's most needed. The second thing that I just picked up is a drip irrigation system. Many of you may not be familiar with this, but what a drip irrigation system does is it routes directly to your plants, and at each point where you have a plant along the line, you tap into the line and have essentially a dripper directly at the plant. The real benefit to this is it's not watering the entire garden, including areas where you don't actually have plants. It's only watering specifically where you have plants because that's where you set it up for. As you might imagine, this is a much more efficient way of watering your garden, and it wastes a lot less water. Additionally, you don't have to worry about some plants getting watered, other plants not getting enough water. You can actually adjust the amount of water that goes to every plant so that you don't have any plants that are overwatered for those that are sensitive to water, and you don't have plants that are underwatered for those that need more water. The next item that I use in my garden every year that has really made a big difference is something really simple. It's this roll here. It's elastic cord. Now this stuff is really stretchy, but it's strong. The great thing about this cord is if you have plants and vegetables like tomatoes that grow tall and need to be staked, you need a way to tie those plants to your stakes so those plants won't fall away. Normally you would just use any type of string or rope to tie the tomatoes to the stake. The problem is, once the plant grows and the girth of the stem gets larger, the stem will actually grow into the tie that you had put on it, and that tie can actually break or cut into your plant stem. The great thing about the elastic cord is that the elastic cord will stretch with your plant as it grows and not constrict or constrain the stem when your plant starts to get older and more mature. The next thing that I use in my garden is Job's brand organic plant food. So you can pick this up again at any hardware store or at Walmart as well in the plant section, or you can pick it up on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description to that as well. I use this when I plant my fruits, when I plant my vegetables, when I plant my shrubs, or when I plant trees. And really what it is, it's organic food that will help the plant to thrive. It will help your vegetables grow bigger and have enough nutrients to grow. There are specific vegetables like peppers that really need help and nutrients to give you enough fruit or vegetable. A pepper plant will grow well on its own, but once it's time to give actual fruit or produce the actual pepper vegetable, it will maybe give you 1 to 3 peppers on any given plant, but without fertilizer, it will not be able to produce a more abundant harvest. So I choose to go with an organic fertilizer as opposed to some of the other fertilizers out there. That way I know what's going into my food. The last item that I use in my garden regularly is stakes. You're gonna need something to hold up your vegetable plants. Anything that grows tall will typically need stakes in order to help support it, because it won't be able to carry its own weight when it's growing, and particularly when it starts to lay fruit, it will also need help standing up straight and not falling on the ground. You want to keep your vegetables off the ground because that will keep them from becoming infected or developing fungus from staying wet, moist, or damp on the ground. Okay, so here's the bonus I talked about. What are some foods that you can take right out of your fridge right now and plant in a container or in your garden and be able to harvest a few weeks or months from now? My absolute favorite is tomatoes. We eat a lot of tomatoes in my house, and the great thing about tomatoes is once you open up a tomato or slice it to put it on a sandwich or to cook with it, you can just take the seeds out of the tomato. You can put it in some dirt, water that seed, and you will have a tomato plant. The amazing thing is you probably only need 1 tomato to have 20-30 plants if you wanted to, because each seed will produce a separate plant. If you want more information on how to grow tomatoes, let me know in the comments below, and I will make a video specifically about how to grow tomatoes. The other vegetable that's really easy to grow right out of your fridge is peppers. Peppers are also another really accessible vegetable that you probably already have in your fridge. Once you slice a pepper open, you will notice lots of seeds inside. Instead of throwing away those seeds, you can take those seeds out, let them dry and store them, or plant them in your garden. Each seed will give you a pepper plant. You can keep an eye out for other things like mangoes, avocado, bananas even, or anything else that you can find seeds from in your home. Okay folks, that's all I've got for how to start a garden the easy way and a lot of extra tips. If you like this content, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification button. Once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time on Renaissance Life TV.